All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, Virginia Wilcsek. Virginia, how you doing today, ma'am?
Oh, I'm really good. Yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. Virginia, for those of us that don't know anything about you, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, please?
Yeah, so I am a group practice owner, also in LMFT, and my group practice specializes in trauma therapy, pathological love relationships, and CPTSD. It's a really great company.
Yeah, that's awesome. And did you share? So where's your group practice at, Virginia?
We're located in all of California. We're virtual,
Got
and then some of us do in person, and we're located in North County, California.
got it. Got it. Virginia, what I noticed about your website is something very unique to me, at least from what I've seen, and I've seen dozens of therapists' website, is that you kind of lead with your own story. Can you share a little bit about your story?
Yes. So I grew up in a very, what I now know, narcissistic household. And it took me years to understand really what I was going through and the way that I was acting and behaving. It was really confusing for me. I started in this group practice and they specialize in narcissistic abuse, and it completely opened my eyes and really changed my life. I started understanding my life and what I had gone through. And that's why now I specialize in pathological love relationships. It allowed me to understand I grew up with the malignant, violent narcissist. And like I said, it completely changed my life, understanding maybe how I was acting were symptoms of PTSD, of maybe the relationships I got into were due to patterns that I grew up with, learned behaviors, attachment styles. So my story really is, of confusion to clarity.
Wow, that is incredible. How old were you when you kind of gained that insight?
Oh, in my early 30s, so I'm going to be 40.
Yeah.
So really in my early 30s is when I got into mental health. I was a therapist. I always gravitated towards trauma therapy, and maybe my body was telling me that this is where I needed to be. And then it dawned on me when I was in that practice about 7 years ago. It's like, oh, okay, well, that sounds familiar. And talking to clients and hearing their stories, I could relate. I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. I had the very same, something similar. I felt like this, and I was able to really join with them. And that's when it started coming up for me, like, okay, this is also my story.
Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. And so with that new insight, Virginia, what did that allow you to do? Like, did you do anything different? Like, how did, yeah.
Almost everything differently. Not saying that, I wasn't practicing in a way that I felt was ethical and morally correct with my clients, but that switch of validation and understanding and clarity really helped me shift my focus and my practice. It allowed me to become certified in certain areas that I thought would be beneficial. It allowed me really to open and share my story, and that way people could connect on a level that, this person may be able to understand just a little bit. I also started integrating more somatic work. You can be intellectualized, you can be validating, right? You can say all the things and understand all the things, and then your body doesn't know what to do with it, right? Your body is still feeling all the things that it went through. So I started integrating somatic work into my practice, breath work, EMDR, internal family systems, which is parts work where it helps clients navigate, you know, maybe some reasons why they do things and why they protect themselves. And it just completely changed the way that I show up for myself, for my clients, and for the practice.
Wow. Was there a moment in time where that kind of change happened for you, or was it kind of a gradual process?
I would say it was a gradual process. I took a certification in somatic and trauma informed coaching in adjunct to my licensure. And it was Caroline Strawson's program for narcissistic abuse recovery. And we started doing somatics where she continually asked us to pause and identify what was going on inside of us at that moment. So it wasn't about, well, let's talk about the past. How did that feel? It was what kind of body memories, what kind of sensations, feelings, temperature changes are going on in the moment. And the more and more I did that in the training, then I started gradually getting my training in somatics, more in CPTSD, and then I took a breathwork certification, and that was like, oh my gosh, okay, I have found my people. I have found a new way to connect with mind, body, and it was amazing. It was the best certification program I could have taken.
Wow, that's incredible, Virginia, because I mean, as you were saying that, I could almost feel like the connection, the enthusiasm for it. And that's kind of rare, I think, maybe. Like it's or maybe it's not very common for a clinician to find their one thing that they resonate with so much. And I think, like you said, it has a lot to do with your own lived experience. Like it gave you so much clarity, and maybe some answers even. And Virginia, I just wonder if you're open to sharing what was maybe like one or two things that you felt in your body, like as you were kind of going through that.
Specifically for the breath work,
Mhm.
we did the breath work, I would say, about 15 times within the training period. So it was 3 times per day. We had to go into inner child work, grief work, shadow work, emotional releases, our own, and then, whatever came up for us. And because of my history growing up with a very abusive father, who unfortunately, it's me, 3 siblings, my mom and my grandma, and we all really suffered. I adapted these coping skills, these survival mechanisms where I wouldn't really cry. I would disconnect from people or get really close and then feel really scared because the people closest to me, the betrayal trauma, they could harm me. And so I had these patterns in my life where I was trying to understand the interpersonal relationships, maybe the reasons why I behaved certain ways, why my body was always bracing. I was always tight and tense. And I felt like my breathing patterns, just even learning somatics, it was still a little difficult to breathe for me sometimes, especially with high anxiety, PTSD symptoms. So we did an exercise. And the relationship I have with my mother was not the greatest. I had a lot of anger towards her, which now in my work, I'm like, there's so much, love and empathy for her. But that was my journey in the breath work. We were supposed to connect with our shadows, which mine was anger. I wasn't allowed to be angry. Growing up, anger meant violence and punishment. So I wasn't able to be angry in my relationships. I wasn't able to set my boundaries because then I would become angry. And in that journey, I found my anger, and it was a little girl. And oh my gosh, the amount of emotions, the sensations I felt, the release, the facilitator came and cupped my head and I just let it out. I was bawling my eyes out. And then I was able to connect with people. Like I literally saw people that I've met throughout my lifetime, and I was able to touch them and hug them. And with my trauma, it's very hard for me to be touched. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like my body's on fire. And after that breath work, I was able to hug my mom. So again, life changing for me. And that's why I love the work. And I'm just so passionate about it because I want to give that to other people.
Wow, yeah, that's an incredible story, Virginia. And I mean, it's horrific that you went through all that in your past, and also just amazing that you found the right program at the right time, probably, and you learned so many things, and now you're, really experience what we all strive to give to our clients, and that's meaningful change, and so that's incredible, Virginia. I like to kind of go back to the narcissistic abuse. You mentioned that now you specialize in what was your specific specialty again?
Pathological love relationships.
Got it.
That's a broader term for a focus in personality disorders. So it's cluster B. It's narcissistic, antisocial, sociopathic, and psychopathic individuals. So I provide therapy, and my practice also specializes in it. We provide therapy to the survivors who have had to endure, are in, or have left the relationship. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could just be a connection of love with those individuals.
Wow. Yeah. So do you have your staff attend the same training that you attended, or is there other trainings that they?
Yeah, there's several trainings that we've taken: narcissistic abuse recovery, let's see, adult children of emotionally immature parents, which is something that is phenomenal. I wish everyone would take that training
Mm.
because there's an umbrella. You have emotionally immature individuals, and then narcissists. All narcissists are emotionally immature. So you can have a parent who is emotionally immature, doesn't meet the criteria for a narcissist, but it's very similar,
Yeah.
and you still feel the impact of that. And so those are the two specialties and certifications that we have. And each person branches off with internal family systems. If
Mm.
the listeners know what that is, you have DBT, CBT, somatics, grief. So those are the two main ones that we focus on.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting because I remember seeing that at my very first practicum site as a grad student. And I was doing an IOP with adolescents. And it just so happened at that time there was only adolescent girls, you know,
Mhm.
and so there was no boys, nothing like that. And I remember meeting the parents of some of the kiddos, and I
Mhm.
couldn't put words to it, but I was like, there's something really off about some of these parents, just with their emotional reactions, even with the staff and like the amount of
Mhm.
anger that would come out and the aggression sometimes. And it's like, and now, I look at my clients and I'm like, they got to go home to experience life with, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, very, very tricky. And kudos to you for specializing in such a tough, challenging demographic, Virginia. I like to ask about your clients. Um,
Mhm.
what are some maybe misunderstandings about experiencing narcissism in a relationship, or even things that people don't realize about being in a relationship with a narcissist or somebody that's emotionally immature?
Mhm. That's a really great question. I actually speak to almost every single one of my clients about this. It's a question that they have for themselves as well. It's the misunderstanding that individuals who are in these relationships don't know they're in one. They should know better, and it's really easy to leave. So, those are the main ones that I hear. Most clients know that they're in an abusive relationship. A lot of clients understand that there's something off and there's something going on. They can feel it. But in those relationships, there's a couple of things that occur. One is the gaslighting and the manipulation and the lying. So even though they feel something, they start to experience something called cognitive dissonance, where they're trying to hold space for two different beliefs. One is, I'm in this relationship and this person tells me they love me, or they told me they love me, but then they're treating me like they don't. And the reconciliation of that is what causes sometimes for them to remain in the relationship. These individuals have something called super traits, which there's 5 super traits. The two main ones are agreeableness and conscientiousness, meaning they're empathetic, they're understanding, they're agreeable to the situation, and they're flexible. These are beautiful traits to have. The pathological individuals, they spot them and they know how to weaponize them and manipulate them. So, because the individual has those two super traits, they give the individual the benefit of the doubt, or there's hope because they've treated them well and they might change. And along with that cycle, common cycle, love bombing, discarding, devaluation, hoovering them back in, that actually creates a neurological and physiological response to the relationship. why it's so powerful, and some people call it trauma bonding, right? Trauma bonding isn't, well, we both share the same trauma and that's how we bonded. Trauma bonding is the repeated chronic pattern of love bombing. So you have the good chemicals, oxytocin, dopamine, and then the abuse, the uncertainty, which then causes adrenaline and cortisol. And that mixture actually creates almost an addiction. And so when they try to leave, their brain is signaling them with these responses like, hey, you need this chemical. And again, even though they know better, their body and their brain are so confused and misaligned that they remain in the relationship. And that's why people will be there for a really long time. So again, it's a very big misunderstanding. People know, people feel it, and sometimes it's just difficult to get out, especially if there's coercive control, financial manipulation. There's so many factors to come into play.
Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting because I've never heard of that term, super traits. But thank you for defining those. And it makes a lot of sense, that somebody is kind of natural tendencies, I guess, is to be in those traits or to exercise those traits and then to be taken advantage of. It makes sense for me as I'm hearing it to be like, yeah, it makes sense for them to have hope, and
Mhm.
look to the positive, and be like, well, things could get better. Just give it some time because they have that super trait, behind them. And so interesting, Virginia. Thank you for that. Um, what has been the feedback from clients whenever they reach out to you and they read your story?
Mm, a very positive one, which I'm extremely grateful for, which is why I share my story on my site. And I don't go too much into detail. It's just kind of I highlight certain things that I feel that clients might relate to. Um, and when they come to me, they really thank me for putting myself out there because it gave them some hope that, okay, well, if we have a clinician who's experienced it, then okay, maybe there's room for healing and there's room for growth and there's room to get out of these relationships. Someone else did it. And again, I don't put a lot of detail in my story, but when we meet and we have a consultation and they are receptive to it, then I can share a little bit more.
About it. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Virginia, I wonder, how do you ensure that clients are a good fit for you and that you're a good fit for them?
That's a really great question. I go on, it's not just feeling, it's the connection that I have with them. When they share their story, I don't need them to be in any place. I meet them where they are. If they are still in the relationship, if they are going back and forth with the individual, let's say they left them, they're going through a divorce and they're questioning, should I actually do this? So when I meet with the client, it's just their understanding that we're here to process the relationship. And if they're receptive to that and they're receptive to me allowing them the opportunity to, the first thing I share is, I'm going to help you name the behavior. Are you able to get to that place with me? And that's all I need. That's the first step. I'm not asking them to label the person. I'm not asking them to leave, to stay. I'm just saying, can we label what they are doing and what you are feeling? And so to me, that would be a great fit if they are able to connect with me.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. All right, Virginia. So let's say somebody reaches out and they are a good fit. And then they show up for the first session. What does the
Mhm.
first session look like?
Oh, it's one of my favorites of any sessions. It's just hearing their story. There, I am sure that we could fill 100 sessions of just hearing what they've been through, moments of confusion. And so the first session really is, just tell me what's going on. Tell me what you've been through. There's no judgment, there's no criticism. I don't start with saying, okay, well, here's what's going on. I really just want to hear them out. Again, because over time, I've had clients who have been with partners for 20 plus years. So I was like, we can have an endless number of sessions, and I'm sure I won't hear all of the stories and all of the things that you've gone through. So really, it's just my favorite to be able to join with someone and hold space for them and not look at them like they're crazy. Because a lot of people come in saying, you won't believe me, or I feel crazy, or I've been told I'm crazy. I don't like that word. It's very pejorative, but that's how people sometimes have been labeled. I'm like, I'm here for it. And if they feel okay with it, like, let me share the story that I've heard, or let me share a story that I've experienced to join with them.
Wow, yeah, and I resonate with that a lot because it really is a privilege to be in a space where clients invite us into their personal, very intimate world, and then when they start sharing and letting it go, and man, it really is a privilege to just be able to witness it, So kudos to you, Virginia, for doing that with your clients. Let's say the first session goes well, and then they start doing the work with you.
Mhm.
What does progress look like?
Mm. Such a vast possibilities to identify what progress is. Something that I do with my clients is I identify goals with them and metrics. So if they come to me with maybe being in a relationship, I ask them, how do you want to feel? And so over time, we attune to their emotions, their sensations. We do somatic work. Let's say they have lowered self esteem, they have depression, anxiety, PTSD symptoms, and they have we call them glimmers. It's when you feel something outside of the normal, the erratic and dramatic is what we call it in those types of relationships. So if there is a glimpse of how they want to feel, we pause immediately and we identify what that feels like in the body. And so really it's very individualized what progress would look for them. I know some people will say, I never want to feel this again. Like, okay, well, that's not possible, right? You're a human being. You're going to feel these emotions just in different situations with different narratives attached.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
helping them understand that, like, you can get to your intention, but we're just going to reframe and rewire a little bit to get you there.
Yeah, fascinating. Virginia, I wonder if you can kind of go back a little bit and shed some light on what somatic means for those individuals that maybe have never heard of that word before, or really don't know a whole lot about the mental health field.
Mm-hmm. So the way that I would describe it is you have a thought, right? So it's up here in your brain, top up, intellectualized, verbalized, and then you have a sensation. A sensation, you can have a feeling, you can have a temperature change in your body. So somatic work isn't just about talk therapy. Somatic work is, well, how does that relate to your nervous system? How does that relate to behaviors and patterns in your life? What goes on for you sensation wise, feelings wise? So it's really a distinction of kind of right from here down, bottom down. And that way people can understand that the somatic piece lives inside of your body.
Got it. So it sounds like when you do your work with clients, you're doing both, really. Like you're doing psychotherapy, talk therapy, and then at the same time, you're also engaging the somatic work or the body work.
Mhm, absolutely. When they say something to me, I pause and I ask them, like, how did that feel to you right now saying that? Or if there's a memory, what was that like for you right now? So we can talk about what it was like then. What is it like for you right now? How is your body still reacting to it? Some people say, I'm numb, I don't feel it. Other people say, like, it hurts, it's painful. So we dig into that a little bit, like, okay, where did you feel it in your body? Let's talk about that. Did your temperature change? Did you have an emotion to it? If I do a lot of parts work, so did a part come up? Did you immediately have anxiety? Did you have fear, guilt, or shame? And we create this space for this in the moment feeling, in the moment sensation that they have, because that's where it lives. It's still in the body and the reactions. That's the important part to get to.
Wow. Yeah. Virginia, what has been the feedback from clients who've done this work with you about the work itself?
They are kind of surprised when I talk about maybe the approaches that I take. People are like, hey, I'm willing to try it. Some people will say that talk therapy hasn't really helped them. And I just say there's certain things that are for people, right? Maybe that therapy wasn't for them. Maybe they needed to find just a different modality or intervention. So a lot of people, when I do parts work, um, they're like, oh, this is really weird. And then when they try it, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just connected with this. I can't believe I remembered this. This makes so much sense. I'm starting to use somatics, which I thought was like woo woo or something that was beyond therapy. They start to integrate it where, oh, I paused and I took a breath, or I paused and I did one of the interventions that you showed me. So I use the body in a lot of the work. So, but yeah, they surprise themselves that they attune to it.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. Virginia, so let's say a client comes in, they partner with you, they do the first session, they tell you their story, then they start their journey, right? And they're doing the work, they're learning the skills and gaining the insight. When do you know that it's time to kind of end therapy or terminate a client?
Yeah, such a beautiful question. Sometimes clients think, I don't want to be in therapy forever. Like, you don't have to. It's not, doesn't have to be forever. But specifically with the specialization that the company has, again, we talk about goals, we talk about what their intention is. I normally start to have the conversation with them when they start to trust themselves again. I think is the biggest tell is with the cognitive dissonance, with the gaslighting, the manipulation, the lying. Sometimes they lose a sense of self, a sense of identity. They don't trust themselves or the world. So when they start to trust again, when they start to recognize the patterns, when they start to speak their voice, their true voice, like those are telltale signs for me that, like, okay, you're starting to go to the post-traumatic growth, right? You're starting to go to the realization that you are not the relationship, you are not what happened to you, you are your own person. And that autonomy, the inner dialogue that they have about themselves, it's like, well, I might not fully trust, but I'm starting to. Oh, that's just music to my ears when I hear clients say that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Virginia, I noticed that you're a marriage and family therapist, licensed marriage and family therapist. And so I wonder, as a fellow MFT, I love working with families. I love working with couples. That's my jam. I love it. And so I wonder when you're working with an individual who has kind of been the victim of a pathological partner, a narcissistic partner, that's one thing. I wonder if you've worked with clients who are in the moment, like currently, living with that partner? And then also, do you ever work with couples and families where one is that narcissistic pathological partner and then the other one is not? And if so, how do you kind of navigate that dynamic?
Yeah, I typically work with just individuals.
Got it. Okay.
There's other people in my practice that work with couples and families, but for me specifically, I provide support to the individual, and they have asked me if I can bring in, or they can bring in, excuse me, their partner, or if they can bring in their mom. And we call those collateral sessions. And I have said, yes, absolutely, if you feel like it would be beneficial, but I let them know that that person is joining for them. It's not to have to resolve any of the issues they have as a couple or as a family. It's more to support them. I can tell you those have been eye-opening sessions and experiences where the partner is amazing. The partner loves them and they just want to be there to support them. And it's really hard for them that they think that they would abuse them or that they would do things with the malicious intent. And they're here to help them and bridge the gap of them thinking that they're doing something harmful in the relationship. So it's very, I am here for them. They are almost the victim. They are the greatest supporters of them. Or I have had really volatile people join, like the mothers or the partners, where it's a screaming match. And so unfortunately, I have to pause, or we have to end the session, or I ask the partner to leave, or they gaslight in the session and they bring up evidence of how they're the abuser. And so I'm very, very careful when I bring in partners or family members, and I will not see the couple if one of them is the narcissist. Just statistically speaking, and from experience, it's more damaging to the survivor who is still in the relationship or who is thinking of leaving to have that session. And so I kind of stay away from that, or I tell them, like, I will try one session, but as a collateral, but typically it just doesn't meld well with their individual therapy.
Got it. Okay, so if I understand correctly, you can see the individual who's the main client, and if they've experienced a narcissistic partner or pathological family member, whatever the case may be, from the past, and if they want to do a collateral session, they can.
Mhm.
It's like a parent or a family member or something like that. But if that client is in like currently in a partnership with a narcissistic partner, then you
Mhm.
tend to not see that narcissistic partner, even if they're presently in that relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's
got
correct.
it, got it,
Yeah,
got it.
it would just do more harm than good, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And just given the traits of the narcissistic individual, I mean, yeah, I totally resonate with that. It just there, it probably wouldn't be constructive, you know. And so yeah, interesting. Virginia, yeah, that is wonderful. I mean, just hearing the way you describe your work, the feedback that you receive from your clients, and just the nuance and the level of care that you bring to your clients. I mean, just hats off to you. It just sounds really awesome. And
Thank
I think it's a
you.
testament to the quality of the work that you do over there, Virginia. I'd
Yes.
like to ask about real quick about those family sessions, those collateral sessions. I know you mentioned that they're good. Do you do more than one as treatment goes on, or are they kind of limited? As far as like the number of times they can have those collateral sessions.
Mhm. I'll do it based on their needs. Yeah, so depending on what they would like, 1 to 3 times bringing in the family member. Again, it's to support the individual client. So I want to be really careful that I'm not providing family therapy. I'm providing insight and ways to support the individual client. My other clinicians who do see families, they can see them for a longer term for family therapy.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Virginia. Yeah, I like to shift gears a little bit, Virginia, and ask you about you and your practice. Is that okay?
Mhm. Yes.
So, what's on the horizon for your practice? Are you maybe rolling out a coaching program, an online course? Is there anything kind of in the future that you're going to bring to the clients of California?
Yes. So I'm focusing on our breathwork classes right now. So what I do is I provide monthly workshops where we integrate inner child, grief, shadow work into the breathwork classes, and I kind of rotate the themes. People were able to attend. It's an hour and a half, and we provide some insight, the conscious connected breath work, sound healing, and Reiki. And that's something that I want to do more frequently. But right now, with my capacity, it really is once a month, and it's in North County Vista, California. I'm hoping to be able to provide. So this is really, I'm really looking forward to this. On my website, I'm hoping to be able to provide videos, shorts for my clients. Let's say they're feeling dysregulated, or they're having a hard day, or they just need a reminder of all the amazing work that they're doing. Having short videos where someone can go onto my website, they can subscribe, and then they have access to these interventions. And so it's not in replace of therapy, it's an adjunct support in between the sessions where they feel like there is a place where they can go. And I know there's Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all these great places, but going to my website, they know that they can find it all in one place.
Yeah, for sure. And not to mention, I think that there's so much information out there and misinformation, and so if they're getting it from a reputable quality source like yourself,
Mhm.
I think that probably means that the clips that they're going to be watching are higher quality, right? Evidence-based, higher quality, all the good things. And so that's really awesome. Any idea on the timeline, Virginia? When is that gonna come to fruition?
When the universe tells me. I'm hoping before the end of the year that I'll have everything up and running. It really is like, okay, I have a place where I can record the videos, and it's finding the time to what interventions do I want to use, the platform. So I'm hoping, yeah, my goal is before the end of 2026.
Yeah, right on. Virginia, I'd like to go back to the groups that you do monthly. I know you mentioned that you incorporate so many different modalities, which is awesome, I think. And you do them once a month for an hour and a half. Um, how many clients can you see at a time? And then is it like open enrollment, or is it like they sign up as a cohort and they stay together for a specific length of time? How does that work out?
It's individual. They can sign up whenever it calls to them with whatever topic they feel they might need. And the facility that I hosted at is just so lovely. It's a yoga deck, and there's lights everywhere, and there's stones, and it's a vineyard, and there's a garden. So it's just so magical and beautiful. And that facility holds up to 15 individuals. So it's really capped for an intimate setting. So it's not like 30 people in a room. It's really individualized, and especially with the type of breath work, you, I would prefer a smaller intimate setting.
Got it. Yeah.
And so I'm able to be there for each individual person. The sound healing is there in that room. So it's again smaller, not in an open space. And then I bring someone in to do Reiki, and they do it on each individual person while they're regaining and grounding back to their breath.
Wow, I could only imagine like the powerful vibes that are in there, and then the amount of healing that goes on with the Reiki for sure, adding that in there. Ooh, Virginia, dang, that's awesome. One question I forgot to ask earlier, Virginia, and that is, some clinicians are very solutions focused, or really driven to get to the goal as quickly as possible. Others are very laid back and they kind of let the client lead. Some involve humor, some don't, some do some self-disclosure, others don't, right? There's a whole mix of personality, so to speak, when it comes to therapy. And I wanted to ask, how would you describe your personality or your style in session with clients?
Hmm, another great question. For me, my style, I am very information driven. So I want to give clients all the no's. I want them to understand what's going on with them. I want to give them the language. I want to give them the somatic work. And also, I love having humor with my clients, especially with what they're going through. Not saying I'm like, we're going to laugh at the trauma, which some do, right? They get to that point. But I like to just join with them, and my personality really shines through. I have two cats, and I'm surprised one didn't break open the door and come in right now. So my cats will join the sessions, and some clients really love that, especially when my boy cat is right here because he wants food. And we laugh about it, or they bring their pets in, or like sometimes if they want, we'll have snacks together, or we'll talk about a movie that resonated for them, a book that they really enjoyed reading. So it is therapy, but it's a conversation, and we're human. And even though there's interventions in there, sometimes, and I'm somatic, I get up and I show them the interventions, right? I'll fall, or I'll trip on something, or my cat hops on my back as I'm teaching them something. So again, it really is great to just have a conversation and show up for them with me, who I am.
Wow, yeah, and it sounds like like there's a genuine relationship being built between your client and Virginia, you know what I mean? Not the client and the therapist.
Yeah.
And so I just think that that's really cool, Virginia. Yeah, great. And I wanted to ask if somebody is listening to this episode. Oh, before I get there, somebody's listening to this and they're liking how you present yourself. They like everything you're saying. They want to partner with you, but maybe they're just reluctant to do so because they've never worked with a therapist before or even been in the mental health field. What would you want them to hear?
I just love all your questions. Let me pause and think about that one. What would I want them to hear? So something I believe I wish that I heard is you are not broken. You just haven't found the right thing for you in the right moment. So one sentence that I would love for listeners to understand is the goal isn't to get rid of what you feel. It's to change how it lives in you.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Virginia, if somebody wants to reach out, how can they do so?
You can visit the website, which is thetranscendingpathway.com. I also have an Instagram page where I post reels, I post quotes, I post videos, and it's at the Transcending Pathway as well.
Wow. Virginia, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. This was great. And maybe we could do it again in the future. How does that sound?
Yes, I would love to.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And for everybody tuning in, thanks for signing on. And until the next one, see you then. Bye.